My daughter, Giovanni Victoria Smith, she was an incredible kid. She played multiple sports. She was so talented. People loved her. Her smile could light up a room. My daughter's future was so bright. She was looking forward to going to college. She was looking forward to playing sports. When school started shutting down, softball started shutting down. It just completely went from all the games are canceled, no practices, everything is tentative, schools, nothing. So we got to start cracking down and really being in the house. And I completely understood the frustration, but it was just kind of like, I'm sorry, kid, you know.
JoJo.
Remember it like it was yesterday. She spent most of her time in her room, drawing or reading or listening to music or whatever on her phone. And so it was not abnormal to not see her for a few hours. My mother came home, and first thing she does is looks for her granddaughter, you know, and she goes upstairs, and I hear this screech out of my mom, and she's calling me, and I run upstairs, and she was unresponsive. You know, it was just, it just kind of, you know, it went on from there. It's not something that I will ever be able to understand. I don't know if it was boredom and this was the end result of it. You know, I don't know if something just snapped.
Joining us now from her home in Stockton, California, Danielle Hunt. She is with Joe's softball coach, Bill Fletcher. Thank you both for being here. Danielle, let me start by saying it's almost a year, and our thoughts here are with you and your family, your mother, and thank you for sharing Joe's story. Just looking at those pictures of her, the way you described her that I read was bubbly, loving, lively. Everything your words said about your child, you see in those photos. Tell me about Joe right before what happened. What was her demeanor like after not having softball, after basically life just changing in the way that none of us were prepared for, but especially someone in that age group?
She was just mostly failing to understand the realness of, okay, well, I don't have sports, I don't have this, but you know, I have a best friend. There's nothing else we can do. Can we at least go to each other's house? And I was literally like, no, we have to crack down on this until we, you know, figure out what it is. And that was the biggest, you know, that was like, okay, now you're taking everything away from me.
Joe's softball coach, Bill Fletcher, is also with us. Coach, you're here. You wrote the team a letter after learning that Joe had passed away. Now you are in a situation where you're not dealing with one or two, you're dealing with many young people in this age group who loved and knew Joe and who may be still going through some of those things. How did you process what Joe was going through and what others that you coach every day are going through?
You know, when I wrote the letter, it was trying to get into their mindset, as some of your previous guests said, getting to their mindset of how they see things and how they justify things and what's real to them and what's not real to them.
Well, that letter you
for,
referenced, Coach, you said, I'm asking you to reach out to others and don't just assume they're doing okay. You wanted to ignite that in them, that desire to be connected. Don't give up on each other. Talk to each other. Check on each other.
You know, I have a 16-year-old son at home, and he's struggling terribly with this, being locked down, not seeing his friends and stuff. And so we've seen it evolve. He was actually starting to sneak out at night, not telling us. And we caught him one night sneaking out. We stayed up. And so you think, you know, your own family members, and you don't. And you think you're digging in, and we talked, or I listened to you earlier talking about watching a movie and sitting around in a room thinking you're socializing and you're talking, but you're not.
Yeah.
You need to dig in. And I've coached for nearly 30 years now. And I think the one thing that I've always done is got to know my players When you're sitting in the dugout with them, spend time with them, talking with them about not just the game,
Yeah.
but talking to them about life. You don't know what they're going through, separations in families and broken families, and that's their getaway place. That's how they escape. I use it as my escape too, uh, from work.
Yeah, and
Um,
their options of escape become fewer and fewer in an environment like this. Danielle, I know that you say parents need to check on their kids. That even the ones that we wouldn't normally worry about. You know, there are those kids in the family, especially if you're siblings, there's always one that you say, well, he's okay. Well, she's okay. Even the kid you think is okay needs you to check in on them.
Yeah, we have to check on all of our children. We can't just assume that everyone's okay. Everybody's dealing with things and processing things. Some deal internally, some deal externally. So we have to figure out, okay, this child who processes things like this, how do we talk to them?
Right. Danielle, thank you. Coach, thank you as well for joining us. We appreciate you both so much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Thank you.